Thank you everyone for joining us today and welcome to Modesto Women Tech Makers October event. So our code of conduct is to be excellent to each other, and we'll be putting our guidelines in the chat so that you can review them if you wish. And Women Tech Makers is powered by GDG. Our GDG organizers are Jim, Amy, and Daisy. And then our Women Tech Maker ambassadors are Daisy, Bernadette, and myself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bernadette. So where to find us for GDG? You can find it on Slack, Twitter, and Instagram. And so you can go to the link tree that will be provided in the chat as well, and you can find all the events and social media. And next, about the events, if you wish to become a part of the community, you can go to gdg.community.dev. And there you can sign up to be part of the community. And then some of our events, upcoming events, we have Pacific Dev Fest November 5th. We have November, I think it's for Veterans Day, for teaching to 5th grade to 8th grade. And then November 13th, oh no, that's STEM Day. And then November 13th, we have the Veteran Day, which is for Parade in Modesto, and a lot of more events. But for details, go to the links provided.
My turn. So I'm just going to introduce Ashley. Ashley is a well-rounded cybersecurity professional with experience in professional service systems engineering, security operations, and classroom training, experience in firewall and migration, deployment and security policy assessments for Palo Alto networks and Juniper firewalls, currently teaching XDR, EDR, and security operations and automated response. Sorry, the screen looks super small.
It's a mouthful. But, it's okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so excited to have Ashley here today. I'm really excited about this talk and to learn more, not just about you, but about like what you're doing and how you're impacting the community. So thank you for being here, Ashley.
Thanks for having me. Like I said, I told you guys at the beginning, I wish I knew about this group when I still lived in the Valley. I've relocated to Sacramento, but we're getting ready to fully relocate out of California. But just knowing the uniqueness of the challenges that all of us as people of color face just being in the Central Valley, and then trying to break into such a hard field like tech while being brown, like, let me tell you this freaking story, because you're going to be like, how in the world did Ashley go from literally sleeping in a closet in Lodi to buying her third house in 5 years? Because that's what happened. I was sleeping in a closet at a Taekwondo school in Lodi. Like, that's how far, like, I was all the way at rock bottom. And, you know, my husband, I guess he was attracted to the potential, because he still wanted to go on a date and take me to dinner, even though I was sleeping in the closet. But yeah, it's like, wow, you must have like really cared. All right, I have one slide to share with everyone. Let me see if I can do this without causing chaos with this new tool we're all trying.
Ashley, we do have a question.
Yeah.
XDR and EDR, can you just quickly talk about what those are?
Of course. So XDR and EDR are endpoint protection technologies. And within cybersecurity, there's been this shift from the idea of like just legacy antivirus, so like Norton and like all that stuff, to actually having tools that not only protect you against the low-hanging fruit, but actually protect you against the stuff that is more in action, that isn't always like a malicious binary. So there's been a huge shift in cybersecurity as well. And so that's why is it sharing it this screen? Okay, I give up on this slide. All right. So let me just tell you a couple things about me. So I am a senior technical trainer now at Palo Alto Networks, and the story and how I got there is hilarious. I'll get there. I started as a baby trainer in 2018. I was brand new. You know, Palo Alto took a heck of a chance on me, because here I was with like literally my security plus and associate's degree and just way too much untreated ADHD energy. And they still were like, okay, come on. So I'm a community college grad myself 5 times over. So originally, and I'll come back to this. So five associate's degrees. I've got my bachelor's and I'm working on my master's. I'm CompTIA certified to the teeth. And when I say to the teeth, I mean I got every CompTIA cert out there. Tons of the Palo Alto engineering certs. All this stuff. I'm fully legit. But guess what my degrees are in? Without cheating and going to my LinkedIn, guess what my degrees are in?
Psychology.
English. In fact, it's worse than that. General studies. I couldn't even pick a major because I can play music. I can sort of do math. I can do a lot of science. Couldn't decide what I wanted to do in college. I'm 33. I graduated in 2006. And, you know, how are you supposed to be able to make a real decision for your life at 17? Like, I really want to know how people do this because everything can go.
Oh, we lost your audio.
We lost your audio.
Oh.
Yeah. Ashley, we lost your audio.
Oh, she can't hear us either.
I don't think she can hear you.
Ashley.
She might be lagging.
Put it in the chat.
Yeah, we lost your audio.
Is anyone else getting an unstable connection warning?
I don't know what happened to my sound. Can you guys hear
Oh, there
me?
you go. Yeah, we can hear you now. Oh.
I can't hear you. What is going on with this platform?
Are you? I'm not having an unstable connection. No.
Mine is fine as well.
Yeah, I guess this is what happens when you use newer, different like technology.
Just use the regular internet, Ashley. Get out of the door.
Can you hear me now? My mic.
Yeah,
Yes, we can hear you. Can you
So
hear
can
us?
you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
You
Yeah.
can hear me. Okay,
Yeah.
I can't hear any of you. So if you say anything, you just have to tell me in chat now. All right, where did you lose me?
Where did we lose her?
When you said your degrees were in, because you didn't know how to choose at the age of 17.
Mm.
Oh, she cannot hear us?
No.
No, we just typed it in the chat.
The whole thing.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Awesome.
Bluetooth, somebody walked by and like everything tried to connect to it. That's exactly what happened. Okay, so my degree is in general studies. So I couldn't pick a major. I'm a trumpet player. I can do sports. I did sort of math. I did sort of history. Couldn't decide. Who at 17 actually knew what they wanted to do? Anyone?
Nope, not me. Nope.
Thought I did. You know, as many times as I changed my major, clearly I didn't know because I just got that damn degree done in like 2019. So do with that what you will. So yeah, so I have a liberal arts background. I worked at GameStop. I freaking slung boxes at UPS. Like, I did not know that I was going to be a tech nerd. Besides the fact that in like 1994 or 5, whenever the movie Hackers came out, I knew I just wanted to do that all the time. Like, I was obsessed. Like, I was out trying to, we had the internet really early, which was weird. We got super lucky, got hooked up. So I'm like out here trying to find these tools. I'm like, are these real? I'm on AOL, 9 years old, talking about how do I robo-dial into a modem? Like, are you kidding me? Like, who does that? So even 15 years ago, cybersecurity wasn't a field we could work in. Like, I did not spend my time as an internet hood rat to grow up one day and say, hey, guess what? I'll be able to get paid. People with money, mostly white people with money, are going to pay me to help them with security. Like, are you kidding me? And again, being a brown person from the Valley, we don't get to do that. What is the expectation for us when we become adults? Like, what were your expectations for you? Because I know mine were I should be in jail. I shouldn't be successful. I should have like way too many kids. I should be a welfare queen, all these other horrible tropes that get perpetuated against women of color and people of color all across the country and the planet. It's frustrating. And so I've always been that person. If you tell me you're not supposed to be able to do this, I will find a way to do it anyway. Okay. People told me you'll never get a job with showing tattoos. You'll never be able to make good money with face piercings. I used to have a mohawk and I don't anymore. Like, all the things that people told me that I should not be able to do, I have found a way to do them. So taking that really crappy background, right? Mom was a felon, wasn't doing the best. Dad was a blue collar worker. My family's from this little town called Homerville, Georgia. You can't even find it on a map. Okay. The town is literally separated by train tracks. The biggest industry there is a paper mill. That's where my dad came from. So for him to even get to California, to the Valley, and have a shot was awesome. So I joined the Army, and I was totally that kid in high school that was like, I'm not doing my work. I won't do it. They're like, well, why not? I'm like, because I can go to community college and none of this matters anyway. And then they would just be quiet because they knew I was right. Like, it was so bad. I was a brat in high school. I apologize to any of my high school teachers that watch this now, but I knew the game already, because for us, like, we don't get those cookie cutter kind of life experiences where the equation of grow up and go to college and you'll be successful, that doesn't always work for people of color. Even if we do everything right, we still get stepped on. And that's what happened to me. That happened to me in my military career. It happened to me in the civilian sector. And it was tough, you guys. Like, here I am with my Sec Plus. I'm trained by the Army. I was a trained like IT specialist, could fix stuff. I was legit, and I kept getting shoved into help desk, shoved into help desk, shoved into help desk. You know, and the worst part is when I get put in a help desk position and, you know, working for like somewhere, hint, hint, Modesto City Schools, because that's where I was training my replacements. They let me work till 11 months and like 29 days and then fired me before a year so I wouldn't get a permanent slot. I just got done training my replacements. They kept all of them. So these are those microaggressions that when people talk about microaggressions, that's a damn microaggression. It's being in a position where you literally are doing everything and then some, and the company you work for is mad because you don't look like the upper leadership, and how dare you come for their job? That's what people think about me. That's what people think about us, and I hate it. That's why I love giving these talks, because I get to sit here and prove everybody wrong and empower you guys to go do the same. So that's why I'm here today. I want to tell you about how I used to have a crappy manager at GameStop that fired me when I was making $10 an hour. And now I make $85 an hour, and I don't even remember what it was like to work at GameStop. Okay. Like, all of that is part of it. And so this is why I love cybersecurity. This field is new. This didn't exist. And right now, because we are people who exist in a way where we can't do anything by the status quo anyway, this is a disruptive industry. It's disruptive on purpose, and we fit in perfectly here because all of us are disruptors. The fact that all 7 of us are on the call and we all work in tech and we're all from the Valley and we're looking at us, there's tens of us. We're already being disruptive in that regard right there. So I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you for being here, just in general. I'm so proud of you. So let's see. So join the Army, was either going to go to jail or join the Army. So I joined the Army. I was a freaking musician of all things. So trumpet player for the first 6 years in the Army. And it was funny because I was a Taekwondo athlete too. So I was on the Army Taekwondo team, which was super cool. Got to go to the military Olympics twice. Only girl, 2 times. I'm like, how did I get here? Like, literally standing in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, about to walk into the ring, like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, why am I here? You know, so stuff like that happens. But I'll tell you, I'm stubborn. You can't tell me no. Hell, my husband tried to tell me no. We're married now. So, you have to, and you really have to be resilient. And it's tough. Like, one of the things that we have as people of color that a lot of our peers that don't look like us don't have is resilience. We have grit. How many of you on this call have been through something life-changing before you were even 18? I'm sure all of us can. Yeah, exactly. Like, I know I can speak to that. So again, how does the status quo work for us when none of us meet the status quo? You know, we can't let ourselves be boxed up either. You know, even in this group, don't sell yourself short. Okay. You can't. You're not allowed to. I won't let it. Even from Las Cruces, I'm going to be checking on y'all and be like, so what great things have you innovated in? Do I need to come back here and have another talk with you guys? Like, I want you to push. And I pushed hard. You know, I spent 20 years in a martial art where barely anyone looked like me. And the people that did look like me were from the East Coast. Y'all already know where I'm going with this. East Coast brown folk are like just a whole different breed than West Coast brown folk. Like, I recently discovered, and I didn't even know this, there's only 3% of the national Black population on the West Coast. Did you guys know that? 3%. I didn't even know that. I was like, what do you mean Oakland's right here. What are you talking about? Like, but that's one of the only places that actually has like a big cluster of Black folk. And if you actually start to tear down a lot of the migration patterns, look at policy, look at all these things, the places we ended up are a direct result of colonization and how it impacted us. So where we all kind of exist and where our communities exist now is a follow-up from that. In our careers, working in these primarily not minority-driven spaces, it's an extent of that it's an extension. 100%. There's a reason why there aren't a lot of us in the Silicon Valley. Women, people of color, any kind of other that you can fit into a box that's not the status quo. There's a reason there aren't a lot of us, because we are now currently existing, and people like me are breaking through those final death throes of white mediocrity that have been allowing people to fail upward and still be successful when folks like us are busting our butts and we're still like, what the heck? So again, if you're here, I know you're here because you're trying to fix this problem. So let me tell you how I fix this problem. So it's 2013, came out of the military, had my IT professional position, had my Sec Plus, and help desk. Couldn't get out of it. So then I job hopped, right? The thing they tell us not to do in the Valley, don't you ever job hop. In the Silicon Valley, everyone job hops. Everyone has worked for everybody for 6 months to a year. Everybody knows someone from that team 3 years ago. It is not, they're telling you not to job hop because they want you to stay. They want you to stay where you are so you can continue bringing them value and not go somewhere else with that value. That's why employers tell you not to job hop, especially in tech. Because think about it. How fast do your skills stagnate working in tech? If you just work on one thing, how fast? It's like a week. Things change so fast, right? So employers will tell you don't job hop. I job hop all over the Valley, and I job hop from making $45K to making $265K a year. If you look at my resume, you'll be like, Ashley doesn't stay put anywhere. I'm like, no, because you learn everything and you have to keep pushing yourself. So as you're navigating your careers, sometimes you just can't take no for an answer. Like my Palo Alto didn't even want to hire me. I went through the interview. They're like, she's awesome, but she's a little green. And I remember I sent an email to Linda Moss, who was the former VP of Education at Palo Alto. And I told her, I said, Linda, I really want to work at this company. I believe in Palo Alto Networks. Like, please take a chance on me. She did. I didn't think that was going to work. Like, I had a full-time offer here in SAC. It wasn't bad. It was definitely a good means to an end because I was working in a SOC, but it's like, but I could get in at Palo. Like, I'm going to go for it. The worst they'll do is say no. Holy crap. 4 years later, I still work there. I check my email and it's not shut off on Mondays. So clearly I'm doing something right, So, it's just so funny. I mean, I remember, all the games that managers play. I remember being, a vocal, opponent of things that obviously weren't right. I always stuck up for my coworkers. I never did anything the way that we're told to do things, especially as women of color. We're always told to just do what we can. Don't make too many waves. Forget that. I'm causing a maelstrom. I'm bringing the storm every single time. Even when I left my last company, I armed them all with the tools so they could negotiate for better salaries because I knew we were being drastically underpaid. Even at Palo Alto, the reason I run the Veterans Network is because it needs to be better for everyone. But vets are just as guilty of making it a toxic environment. So the group needs to stop that as a whole. Like, there's places everywhere that we just can't do things the way we've been doing it the whole time. There's no more time for that. And so if you're sitting here and you're like, dang, how can I go back to work and how can I be more impactful? Volunteer. I'm sure everyone has employee resource groups. Those employee resource groups, especially at Palo, we drive actual change in our company. And the difference for us as women of color is when you get to a company that actually cares and wants to invest in you, they will let you bring your full authentic self to work. I teach class exactly in this outfit. This is my work. This is me working from home. This is exactly what it looks like Monday through Friday. I don't know where jeans are in my house. Okay. Like, Old Navy's gotten too much of my money on those joggers. Okay. Like, I don't own jeans anymore, but I work for a company that appreciates and respects that we all have lives. We all have families. We are not defined by our work, and nor should we be. Yeah, I'm a cybersecurity professional, but if you actually ask people who's Ashley, oh yeah, Ashley knows about all that nerd stuff and all that music stuff, and she really likes Rick and Morty. Like, I actually have time to be a real person, not just be defined by work. And especially in the United States, we have to fight for that. I hate that we have to fight for a work life balance, but it's possible. You just have to really, really, really mean what you are talking about. And so I've gone all the way. Nikesh Arora is the CEO, right, of Palo Alto Networks. As the lead of the Veterans Network, I've gone right to Nikesh and had a one-on-one and been like, Nikesh, you need to listen to me. I'm a cog at the company. I'm not a manager. I'm not a VP. But as a member of a company that cares, I can go all the way to the top and say, Nikesh, let me tell you this wild ass story so you can understand how we can do better. So back to 2015, finished the year. I was working for a startup in San Francisco. It was awesome. It was Lolly and Pops. If you've ever been to that candy company, they make like they have gourmet candy. You can get it in bulk. They order it from overseas. They have stores everywhere now. So I worked there when it was still a startup and it was in the city. Couldn't afford it. It's San Francisco. I go to work every day. And I was living in Oakland at another Taekwondo school, but I was training full time. So it wasn't on purpose that time. But I was in a resident athlete program. So that was the only reason I was able to do it for as long as they could, because my housing was subsidized. If it wasn't, I would have been sleeping in my car outside the office. Okay, so let's not get this twisted at all. So I'm working at this startup and my dad got sick. And I came home at the end of 2015 and I was like, well, dad's sick, but he's immunocompromised. So I couldn't go home, even though he said like I was welcome to. I couldn't go home for a while. And honestly, I'm stubborn and I got a lot of pride. Like, I totally one of those people, like, I will sleep in my car before I move back home. I hella did too for like a month. I was showering at the gym. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't need to be living like this. So I go home and, so I had to take a pay cut. I got picked up at the call center in Apple. So I used to work for Apple Care in Elk Grove, but I was on Apple Care for Enterprise. So thank goodness it wasn't consumer because, people really be calling in with iPhone screens that look like they took a hammer and just smashed it, talking about why doesn't my phone work? And then you have to be calm on the phone and explain to them that they shouldn't smash things with a hammer and expect like common sense to come back from the other side of the phone. Anyway, so and luckily I wasn't doing that, but I did that for about a year, made it to Cupertino. But again, Apple pays their engineers and pays their tech staff great. A lot of those support positions do not get paid well. So I'm making $55K a year, not bad, to commute from Lodi to Cupertino every day. I had to fight just to get that little measly 50 grand because the Valley won't pay anyone 50 grand to live there or work there. Like, what the heck? So after Apple, I took myself over to Lawrence Livermore Labs, got over as a contractor with Chemta. I think Christina, she actually worked for the same manager that I worked for. She's a member of your group. We worked there, but like 6 months apart. We just missed each other. So the community is not that big, right? When we talk about this, like the tech community, especially for brown women, is very small. So I go from Lawrence Livermore to a SOC, and I was a contractor in a SOC, and that was my first security position and title, making 60 grand flat. Okay, cool. So not even, this is 2016, 2017 at this point. So, okay, I've already doubled my salary considering where I started from. Not too bad. I'm like, all right, great. But what else is happening? Rent's going up like crazy. Everyone's trying to move out of the Bay, making Sacramento expensive, making Stockton expensive, making the whole Valley just shoot up in price. So we're also having that happen at the same time. So it's like, okay, well, you finally paid me a living wage for 2008 and it's 2013. So like, still paycheck to paycheck, still struggling. And like, this is also while trying to pay off debt and basically unscrew up my life from my earlier 20s, right? Because we all have made those dumb choices at 21 that have haunted us until we're 28. All right. Like we all are familiar with these situations. So I'm doing that. I'm trying to go to school. I'm trying to like get things back, kind of in the flow of things. And working in the SOC was like the first eye-opening experience. But what really did it, I went to my first DEF CON in 2016. And first away trip, my husband and I took me to a DEF CON. Who takes their girlfriend to a hacking conference? My husband. So so we go to DEF CON and I'm terrified because I'm like, wow, don't plug anything into anything. But why shouldn't I? Like that question, the why was like bugging me. And I'm like, but why? Like, I really want to know. And then come to find out, oh, wait a minute, this is a whole industry now. You mean I can sit at home and play with malware and blow up computers and everything else, and I'm going to make $100,000 a year to do that? Shut up, you're lying. I don't believe you. And my mentor at the time, he's like, yeah, like he was the one that tuned me into the fact that we were being underpaid in the first place. But then it's like, man, so I come home and, I've got my servers now and I just sit at home and just tinker. And, I like, my husband always laughs because I get all excited and I run out there and I'm like, look, I got it to do something. Like the other day, I was excited because I recursively was able to rename all of like 30 folders in a file on my Mac from text to .md, so I could open my notes from one note app into a new one. And I was like, oh my God, I put on sunglasses. I was like, I'm a hacker. I did it. Like, so, it's those little moments, but like when you don't have food, safety, and shelter, taken care of, how can you elevate yourself to the next plane? And for people of color, this is what we're trying to do. We're just trying to get food, safety, and shelter squared away. And it's true. Like, if you're born into wealth, you're born into, great circumstances, you don't have to worry about that. You don't. You just, okay, go to high school, go to college, get a job, continue on. It's not the case for us, right? Like, that it has never been like that. So it's just such a shift in thinking. And when I tell my white coworkers, because we have a lot of like these, let's talk and let's see how everyone's feeling. I'm like, you can't get Black employees because most of us are trying to eat. You'll never be able to stop cyber criminals because everyone's trying to eat. And until we get to a society where everyone can eat, we won't be able to deal with any of the crimes, cyber or otherwise, that we have. It always starts from a point of not having the bare necessities met. Everyone that I know that is locked up, that I've encountered that has been locked up, they were stealing to eat. They were stealing because they were addicted and they were trying to just get that fix. And they didn't realize they were in that drowning pit of despair that comes with addiction. Most of it is because people just can't get the bare minimum solidified. That's why we see a lot of drinking in a lot of our communities, why we see a lot of drug abuse in our communities. It's a depressing struggle to be in a situation where you can't even keep the lights on. And so many of us do everything right and still end up in situations where we can't keep the lights on. That's how we end up with cybercrime. And so part of why I'm so passionate about this industry and passionate about tech is because tech is life-changing for people of color. So white folk have been working in tech for years. They know, but those same people, when you say, hey, we need to install two-factor authentication, will also be the same people that turn around and say, well, I've been doing it for 25 years and you just got here. What do you mean you know better than I do? This is a disruptive industry and we are disruptive people. You are going to have a lot of pushback as those peers to your right and your left that have just been with the company or been doing the same thing and aren't evolving their skill sets. They're going to be pissed that you are there, that you don't look like them. How dare you be a woman or be a brown person in general and try to tell me that you know better. We do. And so what we are now combating is making people have to recognize that, yes, this whole system was built in white supremacy. This whole system was built so that you were always the authority. Guess what? You're not the only authority anymore. There are millions of talented tech workers. There are millions of talented women. There are millions of talented men of color that are hungry and chomping at the bit to automate you the hell out of a job. So, like, come at us. And that's the attitude I put off at work. People know it. Like, I'm not the one at work. Okay. Like, I've had people already try to come at me and I'm like, well, I learned how to play the games from you. So here's my email with all your dumb stuff. And here's all the proof that I have that I just forwarded to your manager. Oh, look, doesn't feel so good when it gets turned around on you, does it? All of a sudden, people don't start playing those games anymore. So there's just a lot of different things. Like, we have to take that internal ferocity that we have as people of color, and we just got to speak that into existence. There's no choice anymore. This is the time, you guys. Like, 2021, COVID, all that stuff has been so disruptive to like what is normal that this is the chance for us to like leverage and propel ourselves ahead. The census reported for the first time that we are finally starting to not be the minority anymore. We are working towards outnumbering and having a very much more diverse and mixed population. Let's keep that momentum. How do we do that? We infiltrate these white dominated spaces. We keep encouraging other women and men of color to learn technical skills because tech skills lift you out of poverty. That's what people need to know, is that if you want something that's going to change, being an auto mechanic like your dad and your grandfather isn't going to pay the bills anymore. You know, like we are now in a technologically dependent society. So why not learn the tech and be the person that now fixes the tech, because it's never going to go away. You're setting yourself up for success. And so if you have kids, especially if you have teenagers, make sure, even if they major in something crazy like underwater basket weaving, make them take a coding or a cybersecurity class. Make them take something so at least they're aware of the new tech society that we live in. Because basically we're being governed by technocrats right now, right? Like Amazon and Google are pretty much running us around ragged. Everyone, you know, the same 8 people have the most say in like what is going on. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm tired of that. So let's fix that. And the way that we do that, we get good skills. We update our skill set. This is the same thing we were trying to do in the 60s and 70s. The only difference is we're now updating our skill set into tech versus law or medicine or the other fields that had been newly opened up to people of color. Cyber is one of those fields now. We're just looking at this, you know, 40, 50 years later, but it's the same situation. Cyber is a life-changing field for people of color. And again, you don't have to be a coder to be in this field. I can barely print Hello World out of a wet paper bag, but I understand and can articulate really, really complicated technical concepts to people that aren't technical. There's value in that. You know, I've got technical skills, but me just being able to run my mouth has gotten me farther than my tech skills. So again, like all of these things make you unique, and that's what you bring to the table. That's the reason why folks like us get hired, you know, over the white peer that might have tons more credentials, because we bring something different to the table. All of you do. Bernadette has had her own experiences. Lourdes has had her own experiences. Adolfo has had his own experiences. Maria's had hers. Like all of us have gone through something that make it so that when we look at a problem, we see a different answer than the person to the right or the left of us. And that's so important. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. Like you have value. All of you have value. It doesn't have to only be through tech, though. You could be an accountant in cybersecurity. You could be an HR person in cybersecurity. I know some of these HR cats at Palo make about as much as I do, and I'm a technical person, you know? So cybersecurity, again, it's an industry that it doesn't matter what you do. Your skill set has a place here. Your skill set is going to change the trajectory and actually allow you to even create generational wealth for your family. Something that many of us of people of color have never seen a benefit to, nor have we been able to even experience that because of all the historical disenfranchisement that trickles down and still haunts us to this day. So there's just so much more to it, but tech is like the great equalizer. Let me tell you, because when I busted my butt as an SE last year, and I was the top SE for Palo Alto networks in our team, you know, it was hilarious to see my one little brown face up there and all these white guys, and I was the top, and they're just like, you know, that shade. I'm just like, well, there's a lot of us out here. Like, you're lucky it's just me. What if my sister was here too? Okay, like there's tons of us out there that are hungry for something better, and we really want to change the world. And so wanting to do that is literally going to propel you further than anything. And that's what got me here, is because I've always wanted to change the world. I've always felt bad when people are suffering for no reason. All of that speaks to me, and cybersecurity can let you combat those problems. And not just through cyber. I now have the money to help other people. I have a friend. He's now a friend. He's 16. I met him through the Taekwondo school I used to teach at in Lodi. From South Stockton, both parents locked up, lives with a grandmother. When I met him, all F's, doing terrible in school. And, you know, I told him, I was like, hey, I'm going to make you a deal. Improve your grades. I'll sponsor your tournament. Okay, great. Improved his grades. Come back with A's and B's. I'll get you AirPods. Came back with A's and B's. Come back with straight A's. I'll get you iPhone. Came back with straight A's. Got him an iPhone. He's now 16, and now he's talking to me about how do I get ready to go to college. versus how do I go run the street. That is what cybersecurity can do. Because again, it's just me, my husband, and my expensive dog. Like we don't want for much. Like we're doing fine. I mean, I don't have to worry about food safety or shelter. So now I can elevate myself and get my degree and encourage others or help others to accomplish their goals. We have to kind of lean on each other, unfortunately, to lift each other up. But if we're doing that, it's going to be awesome. It's always awesome. When I love it when I get to grab another brown person and say, hey, guess what? You're coming with me. Let's go. We're doing something fun today. What are we doing? I don't know. It's going to change your life, though. Get in the car. Like, we're going. So, I really care about this. And so I'm just here just to chat with you guys because it's so important to me that you all know, like, I'm walking proof that, like, if my almost high school dropout dumbass can do it, then y'all can do it, okay? With my face piercings and tattoos and everything else, I'm making it happen. So again, if I'm doing it with my Rick and Morty hats and other weirdness, y'all can do it too. So what questions can I answer?
Oh my gosh,
I'm
Ashley.
speechless.
I'm sure there's so many.
Sorry, Daisy.
You're
Go ahead.
I am blown away. I forgot all the question. You can continue talking.
I have a question.
Jen, don't walk by. Stop walking by. Headphones. Why headphones?
I think she can't hear
There
us.
we go.
You can't hear us? Oh.
Okay, please now ask your questions. I can hear again.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay. So I don't know if you missed it or not, but we all said we were blown away and speechless.
No worries.
So you said that you moved around from jobs, I say we were not supposed to, but you did it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But how did you know that Palo Alto was going to be different? Like, how did you
So it's kind of funny. So I went to a training class at Palo Alto for vets. And again, I've worked all over the Valley. Like I worked at ACES back in the day. So I've got a lot of experience. And so I judge a place by how everybody looks when I first walk in the lobby. And if you walk into the lobby at Cupertino, no one's smiling. No one's smiling at the law. Yeah, exactly. Everyone, I mean, I get it. Everyone's very focused, but you can feel the culture. Like it's palpable, that it's very like serious and you're going to do it. And that's it. Palo Alto, like the receptionist was smiling. The janitor was smiling. People going in and out of the elevator were smiling. People were walking by with food and smiling, and I was interested in that. So like, like just you could feel the energy was just like so much. It just was so positive. Like I knew right then, I was like, I need to work here. Like I already feel better just sitting here and I'm here for class. Like, yeah. And I'm like, already really happy to be. Let me leave. Like I was ready to hold on to the desk and be like, no, like I'm not doing it. So yeah, that was the big thing though. Like it's that culture fit for me. And the same mistake that I made by trying to take myself to UC Berkeley in 2010, thinking that it was anything like UC Berkeley in the 90s. Okay. Same mistake. I didn't go to Cal. If I had toured Cal, I would have known there was nobody that looked like me on campus. I would have gone to CSU Stanislaus. I would have gone to CSU East Bay. I would have took myself to the East Coast, but no, you got into Cal. You have to go. It's Cal. And I dropped out. It didn't matter. So clearly I was miserable the whole time I was there, but I didn't tour the college. I toured this company. It's like the first time I got to do it. And everyone was happy. I talked to people too. Like I would just walk up to random people. I'm like, what do you do here? I'm here for a training class. Like, tell me about what you do. And people were super nice. They're like, oh, I do this. It's really cool. Like you should check it. Like it was just such a change from everywhere else in the Valley. Like I couldn't believe it. And to me, like that was eye-opening because I've been in the Army. They don't care about nobody. Worked at Apple. Very serious. ACES, very serious. Palo Alto, we have Star Wars Day. Like, and they're a very innovative company. You can sense that. The companies that are really trying to like put their feet to the fire about like diversity and inclusion. When I go and look at the career side at Palo Alto, well, I'm on it, which was weird. That was very off-putting because I didn't know I was up there. But everyone, it's different types of people. It's not that like stock photo of like the white guy in like the suit, it's not that. Like it was real. I'm like, this place is authentic. And that really spoke to me, especially when we exist in spaces where we don't get to do that. It's just like it's such a breath of fresh air, because Cisco is our direct competitor, and Cisco's actually got a great company culture too. Like a lot of these companies that even have security as a focus, they recognize that they can't do things like the way we've been doing them previously. Like this industry is so dynamic and so different, they have to even hire differently, which in a way is great for us because we're all the different that they have to hire. So, but yeah, that's what made me stay. And then I got free lunch every day. So I was like, cool, I need to work here. So I was literally starving at that time. So I was like, oh, good, there's free food. I will not be completely hungry after class. What other questions? Don't be shy. I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of share, like, thank you so much, Ashley. Like, Ludwig says that I always have a quote for everyone that that has like a talk, but one that resonates like with this story is like owning your story. And so the quote is, owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do. It's a quote by Brene Brown. And I think like, yeah, like you just own your story, like you know, you're so confident, and I truly appreciate like you coming and just sharing all of that, because sometimes like we do need just like a reminder of like why we're doing this, because it's not
Yeah,
easy like doing it every day, and then like
it's
yeah.
tough. It's exhausting. Like sometimes I wish I still just was like a lawyer or something, because then I'd have like nothing but books and no electronics, because we just got like another VR headset in my house, and I'm like, man, I got to put an exception for the VR headset. We want to play Beat Saber together, so now we got to figure out how to get all that working. Just yeah, you got to leave. You got to live it. You know, you never get a
Yeah,
break from it.
yeah, that's true. And I also have a question. I
Yeah,
would love to hear more about like actual cybersecurity, not to not
yeah, yeah,
today,
yeah.
but I was thinking like if we can if we can do a talk on cybersecurity. um you know, like I don't know how experienced like most people are in cybersecurity that come to the events, but I know I don't have a lot of
I don't have
experience.
a
So
lot of experience
yeah, it would be
either.
a little bit cool to kind of hear more about like give more of a tech
Yeah,
talk about it.
like a cyber 101. Yeah, I'd love to do
Yes,
Yeah,
that.
yes. That'd be
That's
awesome.
literally what I do for Palo. That's like my primary job at Palo is
perfect.
I'm the trainer. Um, but yeah, I figured we were going to segue into that, because I was like, yeah, this is setting the stage. So now it's like, okay, what do I need to know about cyber so I can go work in
Yeah.
cybersecurity?
Yeah, and I think that's good because like sometimes like you're saying like it's kind of like a perfect space for disruptors, and like where can I where would I fit in like if I wanted to go into like cyber, you know, like cybersecurity,
Yeah,
what kind of job, just different things
How
like
do I
yeah,
that
even
would
get
be
yeah.
really
started?
good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if for all of you with like a hardcore coding background, something to look into now, look into secure coding best practices, because there's a huge need in cybersecurity for coders that design with security in mind. So,
Okay.
unfortunately, one of the big issues, part of the reason why cybersecurity is so big is because, like, our networking, our code, our programs, our software, everything's made to work, not to be safe. Does that make sense? So it's just because,
Guilty.
again, if you're not, if you're, no, 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 and it's okay, because again, if you're not thinking about it, again, your focus is entirely different. And so to have a coder or have someone that can actually write awesome code and write it with like minimal vulnerabilities, or because you know how to code, getting into being a vulnerability assessor for web applications. You know, there's scanners and stuff that do that, but you actually know, like, oh yeah, you should probably do this way, because best practices say that, you know, it's better to code it in this type of way in order to minimize this threat versus that type of way. There's huge space for developers in security, especially if you actually know how to do secure design. So if you want a focus area, look into that. I could probably get you a job like this week if you can like get that down. So please let me know when you guys are ready to go with that.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Ashley, is there anything throughout your career, tech career, or I guess I would want to focus more like cybersecurity wise
Mm-hmm.
that you don't like? Because for example,
Policy.
Oh, I was about to say that. I'm currently developing a security policy for my organization because we have none, and I'm looking at templates. I'm like, I hate writing, damn it.
It's so bad. I'm in a master's. It's like it's very much like geared towards like government and policy, and I'm like, damn it, I'm a practitioner. I hate this. All it tells me is like I'm never going to be a manager in governance, risk, and compliance. That's for sure. I'm like, yeah, I'll be a team lead. I'll be a tech lead. Don't ask me to be a manager because I hate policy. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It just doesn't speak to me. Like I like getting my hands dirty. I want to break stuff. I like tools. Like I like setting up servers and being like, okay, how can I break it? Can I design a button to break this whole server? Let's see. But that's just me. That I just don't like policy. It's boring. It's important, but it's just not for me.
Thank you for sharing. Do you mind talking regarding project management?
Yeah, so project management in cybersecurity is super important actually, because a lot of what we're seeing, at least from a Palo Alto perspective, most of our work comes in the form of like deploying stuff for customers, helping them manage migrations. Maybe they had old stuff and now they got our stuff and they want to implement that. So when that happens, where we start to see a lot of challenges is it's marrying up the skill sets of the old technology with the new from a project management perspective. So we are always hiring for project managers. We do not have enough. We actually can't keep up with the demand for how many customer engagements there are. We need project managers so bad. But yeah, there's a big need for that because these projects are complicated. It's not as simple as like I'm installing a switch or a single router. Like I'm putting a firewall or a SOAR platform or an endpoint protection product that is supposed to be your first line of defense in your organization. You're managing the deployment of like sometimes simultaneous projects. So there's a huge need for project management. Huge need. So come on over. I'm low-key recruiting. I'm like, come on.
I am blown away. Like the stuff that you said, I couldn't relate more than that. Like I am a woman in tech and I love to look out for other women and I love to be that person who drives other into tech. Like I have friends coming over, they are biology major. I'm like, do you know you can decode the gene using that program?
That's what I'm saying. I do the same thing. I'm like, I know you're a psychology major, but
see,
big data.
Right?
Like,
I'm like, I don't care what major you are. Do you know the technology can help you whatever you are? So I really appreciate you talking that directly and open because yes, we can relate. Like, yes, I have seen whatever you're saying and I learned to be brave and like I see it in you too. So I'm happy. And by the way, you are talking about all these networks and servers. I was telling Lourdes and Daisy, I have a midterm on computer networks, which is all about ACT and NAT.
I'm just saying, if you need a crash course, you got me on LinkedIn now.
I am. It's not. I was telling him, I was like, to me, like, yes, I can code, but like, it's hard to think about it. They are like, oh, if that happens, what's gonna happen? I'm like,
yeah.
Nothing gonna happen. Like
you have to be so much more anticipatory in cybersecurity.
Yes, it's like thinking.
You have to. Like I sit here at home and I go, all right, I've got servers, I've got a firewall, I live in an apartment. All right, so I have to make sure no one can scan my Wi-Fi, and I have to make sure my Wi-Fi is secure. I have to using strong enough encryption, but I'm thinking like that because I'm already thinking about what could go wrong. And it is just really it's just a change in mindset. It's all because like my husband, he's a network engineer, so he makes things work. I say no. Like that's what we do.
I see. Yeah, it's a different mindset to see the what is the worst scenario case, because like to me it's like everything good. I'm like, oh, nothing. They're like, no, there are cases that Bernadette.
It starts, and it's one of those things where once you know, you can't ever unknow. Okay, so I'm just going to warn all of you: once you open the can of worms with your own cybersecurity and your own personal security, you can't unknow it. So you can't just stick your head back in the sand and act like Facebook isn't actively being used to surveil us, because it is. It is. It's actively being used against people of color. It's being weaponized by law enforcement. Yet people of color are still the biggest user base for Facebook because that's where they get news from because they don't know better. Like it's just it doesn't ever stop. And so when you really start to apply this to like the real world, you immediately see how bad the problems that we are combating are and how much more they're compounded by social media and stuff like that. Like you'll never unsee it. You'll never unsee it. So just keep that in mind as you guys open this can of worms. You're going to be like, damn it, Ashley, in like a year, be like, well, now I got a firewall and now I got an automation, a whole SOC in my house automated. Like, what have you done to me? Like,
I will love it. I know we will like it.
Since you mentioned that, Ashley, what security stack do you use in your personal?
So I'm spoiled. So Palo Alto gives us everything since we're employees.
So lucky.
I'm spoiled. I got a Palo, like not everybody gets to sit at home and be like, I have a Palo Alto security stack from top to bottom because I have a firewall. I have Cortex XSOAR to automate all my security use cases. I have Cortex XDR in the endpoint. I have Prisma Access in the cloud, but it's because I work for Palo Alto. If I wasn't working for Palo Alto, I'd have a nice list of open source tools for you, let me tell you.
I'm struggling with the Elk stack, Elasticsearch and all that. Yeah,
it's tough. I just set up an Elk database because XSOAR can now use an Elk database, and I was like, why would I do this? It's so much work. Like, yeah,
it's free.
There's just a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. And again, I'm happy to also do like a technical talk or even like a workshop. I would love to do like a scan your home network workshop so y'all can see how bad it is. And you're like, wait a minute, what do you mean
That would be awesome.
Yeah. What do you mean Russia's scanning me right now? I'm like, yeah, right now. Right now they are. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff out there. Like I could talk about this stuff all day. Like if you let me, I'll keep you here till like 5 o'clock, just like talking. So
He was telling me, yeah, it's just hard to find women who are who have experience in cybersecurity. And he goes, like we interview, like we do what we can, but we just can't find them in the Central Valley. And it's like,
not in the Valley. We all either went to Sacramento or went to the Bay because I was in the Valley, could not position for the life of me. But this is also before cybersecurity even really got to the Valley as a discipline. Like it didn't even exist there, So it's like, well, you're not gonna find anybody.
Yeah, there's like that I know. Like there's only like one company that actually like does that. There might be more, but I'm just curious, like. How many like women do you see like at Palo Alto Network in cybersecurity or in like that field?
Tons.
And a lot. And then in general,
we
like
have a lot.
Okay, cool.
We have women leaders. We like our red team. So our red team adversary manager for InfoSec at Palo Alto. So that the person who is in charge of defending the biggest and best cybersecurity company in the world is a woman.
Okay.
And she's got multiple women on our team. We've got some good devs. Like I see a lot of women. Now where I don't see a lot of women are in my training classes because I'm typically talking to like the practitioners, the SOC teams, and it's always from places, it's always like across the water too. Like even across the pond, they'll say, oh yeah, we have tons of women and stuff like that, but they're in technical roles, just not on the security team. So even across the pond, it's the same thing. Like security is kind of weird. Security is very gritty and very rough. Like the women that exist in like cybersecurity spaces, we all got tattoos. We all got something kind of like edgy going on with us. Cause it's just, again, you kind of, I'm serious. Like you kind of got to be like one of the guys sometimes to like operate in a lot of these spaces because even being in security, like it's kind of like being in the military. Like I'm used to being the only woman or the only black woman or the only black person and the only woman in the room. But I will say that Palo is doing a really good job because like at any time, like I've got, female systems engineers, I was a good female systems engineer. We have multiple across the company. Like there's really good representation. And our women's network at Palo, biggest employee resource group in the company. So we've got women leaders. There's women all over. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder like, cause especially like for women tech makers, and as we hold events, like we know, about like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, like even SQL, just things like more around coding, but we don't really do a lot of talks about like cybersecurity, networking, anything like that. So
There are
yeah, it
tons
would
of
be
us out
nice.
here. I got
Yeah,
3 more women I'm thinking of in the back of my mind that would love to come talk to you guys. That I
yeah,
think are in
yeah,
California too. But yeah,
yeah.
like I can't code. Like I got excited that I got Visual Studio to work correctly and I could upload a file to it and it stayed put. I was like, it's still there. Okay. But talk to me about security stuff. I'll go crazy and I can do all it's like muscle memory, right? Like I can just do it. But like the things that I'm weaker on, I'm like, let me just open up Google and see like how this works. So I get it. But yeah,
Yeah,
tons of women
cool.
in this space now. And
Okay.
even like on LinkedIn, I always try to share. If you guys ever, by the way, if you guys ever post anything and you want it to get visibility, I will share it. And I have like 3,000 personally known followers that will always share. I actually got someone a job on accident because I shared their post and someone I used to work for was like, oh, Ashley's right. I should totally take a chance on her. And now she works at the company. So,
Oh, cool.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, stuff like that is happening. But again, this industry is small. So the more we network, the more we connect, the
yeah.
more we just try to like, just let me know that stuff is happening. And I love being like, hey, Palo Alto, anyone live in the Valley? And there's tons of Palo Alto people in the Valley, by the way. I'll just tell
Okay.
them, be like, hey, there's a group out here that would love to have some speakers. I can go to the women's network and say, hey, I need some of y'all technical ladies to come talk to this great group with me. And I'll get 15 people that want to raise their hand to do it. So yeah, you guys have support. So I will make sure you guys get the support you need as well for your group because it's important to me because the Valley, people get trapped in the Valley, like you really can get trapped in the Valley.